Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of this series, Truths for My Children. I am going to link my original blog post below in the information box or in the blog post so that you guys can read the backstory on this series. And I will also have the previous videos linked below as well. So if this is the first one you're seeing, you can always check back. So I'm going to do that throughout the whole series. There will always be that extra information. Let's jump right in. The second truth that I want my children to know, and just so you guys know, I have some notes here. The second truth that I want my children to know is that God is our creator, and knowing God will help us to better know ourselves and the path we should take and our purpose. And we find this truth in Psalm 32, verse 8. Let me find my place here. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. So I have found great comfort in my life in so many different situations. Just talking to God about everything, talking to God about the decisions that I need to make as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner. I pray about everything, and sometimes I pray for a long time and I don't get a response right away, but then eventually I do get a response, and it can come from Bible study and just reading something, and the message that I'm getting from that just totally applies to the situation I'm in. When I started to spend regular time reading the Bible, spending regular time in prayer, watching, my favorite preachers on YouTube, all of those things, I really get to know the voice of God. And I can tell now when God is saying, like, yes, move forward in this way, or no, don't go this way. And this voice is so important for me to understand and important for my children to understand, because as people that are set apart, like the first truth that I talked about, God's going to call us to do some crazy things, or maybe not so crazy things, but by the world's standards, the decisions that sometimes God will call us to make may not make sense to the world around us, or by the standards the world has set for us to make decisions, they may not make sense. So it's really important for us to be able to hear God's voice and then knowingly follow it, and with that faith step in the direction that he is calling us. And I just love to think about Noah and Noah's Ark, that story, that true story. I love to think about that when I think about God calling me to do something, and I just think, okay, if I can just be like Noah, because that God spoke to Noah's heart and said, Noah, I need you to build a boat, a huge ark, and it's going to rain. I am going to flood the earth, but you need to go ahead and build that and get 2 of each animal onto the boat. Like, really think about that for a second. And then I think about Noah going to his wife and saying, honey, here's what God has asked me to do. We got to build a boat. We got to build an ark. And I just picture Noah, building the ark. And I picture people making fun of him for following what God has called him to do, because I'm sure that he did face criticism for what God called him to do. But he still did it, and he did it in faith that God was going to, make it all work out. And so when the rain started to fall, I'm sure Noah and his family were so grateful that they had faith in God and they listened to God and followed his lead. So I love to think about that story when I know God is calling me to make a decision that's a little bit scary. I just think, okay, if Noah could do this, then I can do this. And I just love that story. And I also like to think about this, that God will equip us to do the things he is calling us to do. I heard this saying once, and I just really, really love it. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I have lived this. I continue to live this in my life, but I lived this in my career before I decided to work for myself and stay home with my children. I worked in marketing and I had no post-secondary education, but I applied for an advertising sales job, and through that job, I moved up the ladder in the company. And I had no marketing background. I had a sales experience, but I had no marketing background, and God put me in that place, and then he taught me and he qualified me. So I'm just going to read that verse once again. So we shouldn't be afraid to go where God is calling us to go if we maybe think, I don't have the skills for that. I'm not qualified for that. I'm not good for that. You know what? If God is calling you to that, he is going to qualify you for that. He will make a way. And I want my children to know that, because I know God is going to call my children to some pretty cool, amazing things. And I never want them to be afraid that they can't go there because they're maybe not good enough or they're maybe not qualified, because I know if God is calling them to do something, he will equip them. And I want them to live their life like that. I want them to live boldly following God's way and trusting him to make a way for them where they are called. So I'm just going to read that again, and we'll wrap up this part 2. So we're in Psalm 32, verse 8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. Awesome. God's not going to leave us. He's going to counsel us. He's going to watch over us, and he is going to walk before us where he's calling us. So I just want my children to know that, get to know your Creator so that you can know his voice, where he's calling you, and what your purpose is. You will know your purpose when you know your Creator. And we won't have all the answers at first. We'll maybe just get one little piece at a time as we step in that direction. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love to hear from you guys. I really appreciate it. Even if it's just a private message, it means so much to me because I really have a lot of fun creating this content. And if you ever want to, get together and have coffee and talk about God, I'm so down for that too. Just drop me a message. I love you. I'll see you in my next video.